All right, good afternoon, everybody. Podcast coming out a little later than initially expected, and it'll never, frankly, be this late ever again on a Saturday. It's just I spent as much time as I possibly could breaking down these games and feeling like, man, I gotta hit these games tonight. So that's what took me so long. Started frankly earlier this week, but then just really wanted to just look at a lot of film because for me it's all about figuring out how the coaches are, what tempo they want to play at, what's the go-to, what's the strategy. Because unlike the NBA, college basketball is to be dictated by the head coach, right? He's gonna, how do we want to play? And there's, I would say, less variance when you're betting college basketball than the NBA. NBA feels like, man, with all the 3 pointers, it's hard to predict. So I'm going to start with that because the Connecticut Alabama game, that was the main thing I took away was feels like an NBA game because Alabama's going to shoot so many 3 pointers. And it sounds very cliche, it's a make or miss league. And if the shots go in, great. Alabama's certainly a live dog with 11 and a half points. But what if they miss their shots? So as the more I kept thinking about it and feeling like, man, Alabama's only pathway is to play fast. They just have to play fast, almost faster than they played against North Carolina. Connecticut's half court defense is just absolute. I mean, you saw what they did to Illinois. You saw what they've done all year. It's been now 2 straight years of just unbelievable defense. I mean, Connecticut's just unbelievable. So the more I kept thinking about it, I'm like, man, 11 points that feels like a 50-50. It could go either way. So I got burned on it last time by taking the over with Connecticut 81 and a half against Illinois and felt like they would have got there, but Illinois just basically died on us. I don't think Alabama dies the same way Illinois dies. If they die, they're losing like 103 to 77 because they're just going to run, 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 run no matter what. Whereas Illinois, yeah, they got stuck in the mud. The shot clock went down too many times. Alabama just is not going to be as patient. So depending on how the tempo is going to go, and I just don't see, excuse me, not depending on how the tempo goes, depending on whether or not Alabama is going to make any shots, is how close the game's going to be. But the tempo is going to be super duper fast. And there's just no way Alabama can slow down Connecticut, not on the perimeter, not on the inside. So if Alabama sneaks out a win, which I really don't think will happen, it has to be a super high scoring game. I really only see this game going one way, which is just really fast with Connecticut getting a lot of points. So I'm going to go over 85 and a half. It's a big number to swallow. Just when you think about, Final Four and you're shoot, I get it. You're in a new arena. You're not familiar with how to shoot, but Connecticut's going to get to the rim really easily. And yeah, the tempo is going to be super fast. So I would say that is, if I'm rating these games, I like Connecticut's points to go over, but it's the next game that I absolutely love because the next game to me is just perfect, perfect, perfect value, and it feels weird because I haven't been on them. I haven't made any money on NC State, so I don't like jumping on board as the ship is kind of sailing along here, but man, I didn't love the matchups against Duke and Marquette. I wasn't 100% sure how NC State was going to look. Are they tired? Did they run out of gas? I didn't pull the trigger. Frankly, Ben talked me out of NC State against Texas Tech in the first round. And I just never really bought fully into NC State until now. So I go back into the tape, and the main thing I wanted to watch was how did Purdue finish the game against Tennessee, and what's Purdue's strategy against NC State? Because we'll start there, and then we'll circle back to NC State for a second. Okay, so Purdue, the last, I guess, 7:53, I think was when that 8-minute timeout came out, and it was 54-53. Purdue's beaten Tennessee, and there's 8 minutes left in the game. And to me, Purdue looked tired. They missed all these free throws, and they're like the one trick pony, just throwing the ball inside the Edey. Couple pick and rolls, but mainly just throwing the ball inside. It looked like the more I watch it, because I had Purdue last week to beat Tennessee -3, but I wasn't fully immersed in the game the way I went back and watched it. Man, Purdue just has no ball movement, no player movement. And I just don't love the way they played down the stretch at all against Tennessee. Thought Tennessee now on the defensive side will Purdue lock down Tennessee to some extent, but it was really just Tennessee Connect just missed a couple of shots that I think he normally makes. He had a great game, but towards the end of that game, just Purdue, I didn't love the way they finished that game. They end up covering. They shot 21 out of 33 from the line. Their ball handling is okay. It's not elite. And then go back and I'm like, all right, let me see how they played against Gonzaga and go back and watch, the second half of that game and it's like, man, what's jumping out at me is they're just, their defense is playing better than I maybe thought they were going to play. And Edey is a problem in there, but offensively, it's just uninspiring to me. I don't love the way Purdue's playing. It felt like they had home games. Gonzaga to me was right there. Game slipped away. So because Purdue has beaten Gonzaga by 12, they beat Tennessee by 6. They rolled Utah State. There's a reason why the number is as big as it is. And look at 9 points, and I'm like, how's Purdue beat NC State by more than 9 points? I'm like, they're not going to get open shots against NC State the way they did against Gonzaga. It's going to feel way more like the Tennessee game. And the Tennessee vibe was, we're going to let our big guys go up against Edey 101 and see what happens. And the big guys on Tennessee did an okay job, decent job, as best as you could possibly do against that guy. NC State is going to do a better job. They're going to keep him further away from the basket. Some of his shots, if a 5-footer versus the 9-footer, I think it makes a ton of difference tonight. And I just don't think he has the leg power underneath to get to the position that he wants to get to. So the way that Purdue beats them by more than 9 points is the guards outplay NC State's guards and they just roll and everybody's making threes. I'm like, I just don't see that happening. The more and more I keep looking at it, because that's the way, once just so you can get inside my head, once I decide I like the team, which is NC State. So go over the analysis. I'm like, all right, I really like NC State. Let's go the other way though. Like, how does Purdue win this game? Let me play devil's advocate. What am I missing? What am I missing? What am I missing? Because I really like NC State. I'm like, this spread feels like it should be 3 or 4 points. It shouldn't be 9. So why is it 9? And I look at the numbers. I'm like, all right, the numbers make sense of why it's 9. When you just look at Purdue as a point differential, makes sense. But when you just watch the game, and I'm like, Purdue is not dynamic enough on offense to me to blow out NC State. I don't see them getting the open looks. I think, frankly, what I said about Connecticut, Alabama, they're going to play super fast, so there's so many threes going up. I feel like this game is going to be a little bit slower. It's harder to shoot when you're not getting as many shots. And, if Purdue's going to win the game, they're going to have to, first of all, I think it's a 50-50 game. If Purdue's going to cover, they're going to have to shoot 50-60% from 3-point range. I just don't see that happening. NC State's wing defense is fantastic. Their rotations are fantastic. The way you beat NC State is you have to be able to outscore them and get up and down the court and make them play faster than they really want to play, because they only have 7 guys. Like, NC State will like to run when it's opportunistic. But I think if Alabama was playing NC State, that would be a nightmare matchup for NC State. This feels like a good matchup for NC State because Purdue is going to try to slow, feed the post. And I just think the momentum and the energy when it comes to the referees and how the fans are going to be rooting, it's going to be hard for them to blow the whistle against Burns on NC State and put him in foul trouble and have him sit on the bench. If anything, I think Edey picks up a couple fouls. Every bone in my body is telling me NC State. So if we go, I want to go to the other side of the ball for a second, because that's where Purdue's actually been more impressive to me. But there's one aspect of this game where NC State, I think, is going to be able to exploit them. So first, I'll start with, Purdue being impressive, whether it was Gonzaga in the second half or Tennessee down the stretch. The way that they rebound defensively is like you're only getting one shot, right? So Edey's in there. He does a great job of not fouling. He doesn't jump. It was the first time I guess I scouted him, because you slow down the tape, you're watching, you're like, man, play after play after play. Sometimes he almost gives up on the play, where he'd rather just not pick up the foul. But 9 times out of 10, he's in good position. He's definitely a deterrent. But Tennessee's biggest weakness is inside scoring. I think Connect had 31 points at one point, and the rest of the team had 27. They just had absolutely no scoring punch inside whatsoever. So Edey didn't have to work as much as he's going to have to work tonight. So that makes a major difference. NC State, the reason why I think they're able to exploit Purdue is Purdue's biggest weakness is their three guards on the perimeter. You want to call Floyer a guard, but Jones and Braden Smith, they are laterally slow. Like they almost benefit the way they play defense is they just benefit from the fact that the guy's going to get by him, maybe get a half a step, but he can't get all the way to the paint because that's where Edey is. But NC State shoots these pull-up jumpers. DJ Horn and Morcell, and McConnell, like that's their shots. Like that's what they want to get. So they're going to put all these Purdue guards in pick and rolls. They're going to put Edey in pick and rolls all night long. He's going to get tired. He's going to drop on these coverage, and NC State's going to get that. I call it the Chris Paul shot, that 13, 14, 16 footer right on the elbow. Nobody does it better than him. It's just when that shot goes in, that's like the number one thing I teach basketball kids is if you can make that shot, that's what separates. You come off the pick and to be able to stop, read where the big guy is, and either make the pass to the big guy. But in Edey's case, he's not going to let you do that. He's going to drop back. He wants to get to the defensive rebound, and he's going to say, all right, you got to hit that 13, 14 footer. And that's what NC State does a great job of. I think they're going to make a ton of those shots. It's going to put a ton of pressure on Purdue. And I haven't even talked about the big guy. Like Burns' matchup with Edey is, well, first of all, it's fascinating, right, on so many levels. But if we just get into the weeds of how's Burns going to play against Edey on offense, he's going to bring the ball out to the three-point line. A lot of times the way he posts the ball is he'll have like 1 foot inside the three-point line. You're like, man, why is he starting so far away? But there's two reasons he does it. One, it allows him to back down with momentum. So he'll wear you down, boom, one dribble, boom. It's like old dad basketball in the backyard where you're like, come on, man. Like, how many dribbles you gonna take? And that's his style. He, instead of trying to catch the ball deep, I mean, look, he'd like to catch the ball deep, but the way they run their offense is they'll even set it up that way and let him dribble into it. So there's two reasons they do it. One is if the double comes, he's a great passer. So as he's dribbling down, the team, Purdue most likely is not going to double team when Edey's down there. But if he gets matched up on Gillis, the lighter guy, Kaufman Jones for Purdue, I could see them sending the double team. So as he's dribbling down there, that's the number one. And number two is they run this dribble handoff, offense where I'm telling you, Purdue is just going to be too slow. They're going to have a hard time fighting through these picks. And he just basically hands the ball off and he turns and sets the pick at the same time. And that's what's going to lead to these 13, 14 footers. If the weak side comes and helps in the corner, NC State's going to get a really good 3-point look. And I'm telling you, those shots are going to go in. It's going to put pressure on Purdue. I think it's a 50-50 game the whole way through. Purdue just battling, playing from behind in a lot of situations. And can NC State hold on? I think when Purdue, I've just seen a few things from the body language from their point guard Smith. He is a sophomore. I mean, NC State's older than Purdue. Every single guy on NC State that's going to play tonight is a junior or a senior. Two guys are, I think the whole starting lineup are seniors or graduates, and then the two bench guys, Middlebrooks and Jaden Taylor, who I think is going to be a wild card tonight for NC State. He played at Butler. He's the guard that comes off the bench. He's a junior. Yeah, NC State's old, whereas Purdue, you got Edey and Gillis are seniors. Jones is a senior, I believe. He's a junior or senior, but then they have two sophomores in their starting lineup. And those are the guys that handle the ball a lot, especially Braden Smith. And he's just, he's good. He's obviously good. He's going to be, I don't think he's an NBA point guard. We'll see. He's solid, but I just think tonight he's a little too emotional, and NC State's going to be able to get up on him. He's not going to have as many clean entry passes into the post as they did against Tennessee. Tennessee it's going to feel like it was a vacation going up against Tennessee's big guys once Burns. And I didn't talk about Diarra, Muhammad Diarra, the other big guy for NC State. To me, he's the one that really is going to disrupt Purdue's offense tonight because he's pretty much going to play a free safety role. In a lot of situations, it doesn't make sense for him to guard Edey because you would think he's a little bit taller. It might be a better matchup. But Burns, what I think they're going to do, and we'll see. A lot of these possessions, there's switches, there's fast breaks, so you can't get everything you want as a coach. But when the game slows down, I believe what the strategy for NC State is going to be is let's have Burns body up Edey and keep him as far away from the basket as possible, and have Diarra be used as the help guy. He's nice and long. He should be able to disrupt Edey if he puts the ball on the floor, block a couple shots. I just really think this spread should be 2, 3, 4 points. Definitely not 9. So I'm gonna ride NC State. I tried to talk myself out of it because that's the way. Every big bet I've ever made, I've made quite a few. That's my process. If I really like something, I got to talk myself out of it first. I watched Painter, the coach for Purdue's press conference. I'm like trying to see if I'm missing something, and I really don't see it. I think this game at worst for NC State comes down to 2, 3, 4 points at the end of the game when Purdue squeaks it out because Smith and Floyer, Jones, they make more shots than NC State down the stretch, and they do. It's not going to shock me if Purdue obviously wins the game, but I actually think NC State's going to win this game. I think it's a 50-50 game down the stretch, and I trust Horn and Morsell and McConnell for NC State more than I trust Purdue. And basketball, football, it's all about matchups. Baseball, every sport, it's about, hey, some guys just match up better against other guys. Like I said, Alabama, I think, would run NC State out of the gym. I think it would just be too fast, too many points. And NC State would play uncharacteristically. I think the same thing would happen if they played Connecticut. Connecticut might just suffocate them and blow them out by 30. But Purdue, it's like, man, that Purdue's going to play into the hands that NC State wants to play. They played against Baycott twice, so there's going to be some familiarity with how they want to play in the low post. Actually, they played against them 3 times, right? So they played in the ACC championship. So we shall see. But yeah, my money, literally, figuratively, is on NC State. So go Wolfpack. I do have a smaller advice if you want, smaller little bet for Connecticut's points to go over. And yeah, let's see. Want to make sure I get this podcast out. It's about 2:00. Just quick recap on yesterday because the Orioles game was wild. That was nice that the Orioles won because I had given out Orioles to win the series. So obviously they just need a split here, like the value today. Hopefully they win. And then the Diamondbacks, man, it was perfect. Need the split, so they're winning 3-0 in the top of the first inning, so that's nice. And then it's 5-2 in the 8th inning. Still nice. 5-3 in the 9th inning. That's also nice. And then it's a leadoff error. And errors don't help, especially against the Braves. Now it's 5-5. We go to the 10th inning. And it was almost like a 99% Braves are home opener. It's like, who's going to win the 10th inning? It's just a crap situation. Hopefully they win tonight, obviously. If they don't, then that bet's no good. So the logic going into the bet was they had a better chance to win tonight against Fried than against Strider. But man, they got the Strider. They got 4 innings out of Strider, and now it looks like he might need surgery. So, man, crazy over there. And let's see. I think that is about it. So I will see you guys in the morning. We'll see how Collins I know he had 2 golfers they predicted, but mainly he's going to get graded on the bets that he gives out on Sunday. That's the value of having any golf, frankly, aficionado or anybody that's going to give out any bets. It's like, all right, I need somebody that watched the first 3 rounds and then tell me your bets for the 4th round, predicting what's going to happen before the tournament. It's a little bit more of a long shot. So we'll see how things turn out for him tomorrow. But yeah, definitely love NC State tonight. And don't see a pathway. I don't think the refs are going to blow the whistle on Burns and make him sit on the bench. I guess that's the one way where the game gets ruined for them, but I just don't see it. I love NC State. So go Wolfpack, and I shall see you guys in the morning.